General Andrews,
And the Dream Stream presents Rapid Runs!
Sure. So timing in this one is a little bit weird.
is it? Okay.
Yeah, so it's on movement. So, whatever. I can count you down, of course.
All right, cool. Oh, it's movement. Yeah, like most Turtles games. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so basically I'll push start here and we can say time.
Cool. Good enough for me.
So this is Ninja Turtles 2. This is ancient for me. This was the second speedrun that I ever learned a long time ago.
Wow.
And people that might be very astute will probably notice a couple of differences right away, because I don't know if you can notice it yet, but maybe somebody in chat knows. Like, what's different about this game so far? As this guy knifes me around anyway.
Now, different about this game compared to the arcade, or compared to maybe like the American versus Japanese titles?
Probably the latter.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Because I can definitely tell the difference between the arcade, because the fire alone is so much more vast in the arcade.
Correct. Yes. This is originally an arcade port, and the NES version had a couple of different stages that were unique to the NES stage.
Oh, okay.
But the biggest, well, actually there's a couple huge differences. So this is the Japanese version, but one of the biggest differences is Pizza Hut is no longer in this version. It is actually Turtle Racing, so you'll see a bunch of posters later for Turtle Racing.
Oh, that's cool.
Weirdly, I can show you after this group of mobs here. In the Japanese version, you can switch. You see how, like, you have this thing here? Your special attack, you can switch your special attack and dive kick. You cannot do that in the North American version.
Oh.
And the logic behind that was probably with the peak of popularity of the Turtles, they wanted to make this game harder for the rental market.
Ah, yes.
So you lose mobility in terms of your attacks, and then on top of that too, you also lose, there's more health on basically all enemies as well, so.
On the North American versus the Japanese version?
Yeah.
I've always found funny between the, for so many different titles, so many different IPs, is that the Turtles IP in Japan, they actually make the game easier. When typically, if we're like talking about Mega Man like we just watched, typically Rockman is going to be the harder version.
Correct, yeah.
I've always found that interesting with Turtles.
Yeah. I think like the explosion of North America and popularity and stuff like that, like they really wanted to make the rental games harder, I think, here.
That makes sense, because I have no idea about the rental market in Japan around the similar time frame. If there was
no rental market, that's why.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, there was actually no rental market at all there. Somehow, at least back then, I don't know if it's still true, renting games was illegal.
Oh.
So there was literally no rental market at all back then.
There you go. That explains it, folks. It's illegal.
Yeah. So a completely different world of video games as a kid back then.
How interesting. So you would have to buy the game. That was it. That was your only option. Otherwise.
Yes, and with the Famicom disc reader and stuff back then, you could rewrite games for a price. So you pay like a portion of the price or whatever to like rewrite Mario 1 to be like Million Secret Castle for Posty or whatever.
Right.
But that was like basically how you would get a new game at a fraction of the price without actually buying, I guess, a new game back then.
Now, here's a question I have for you because of playing on the arcade version when I do the 4 players with Posty, Jake Rock, Space Coast, and watching another runner run this title. On this one, are you able to do the glitch, or is that arcade specific?
No, that is arcade specific.
Okay.
I'll actually throw a completely random question to Parsley because he seems to know a lot about this already. Do you know why we use Raphael?
So I have a guess from what I thought I remembered learning. I thought that Raphael has one, like on that motion right there, not motion, gets one extra pixel
Pretty close, yeah. All the turtles in this are identical in terms of damage.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, actually, because in Turtles 1... we paused it. And Turtles 3, they're actually different. So they do different amounts of damage, and they have different amounts of... Like, they have different moves and stuff like that. But in Turtles 2, they all do the same amount of damage. But for reasons unknown, Raphael's hitbox on his special attack, this one, has 4 extra pixels.
It's 4. Okay, but so there is extra pixels.
Yes, and that is probably a mistake. I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah, that has to be a mistake, simply because you would think if anyone, they'd put that on Donnie.
Yes, but yeah, Donatello, his range is shorter. And if you use any of the other turtles, the first kill in particular, like you saw me...
Yeah.
What do you call it? Like quick kill.
Quick kill, almost like a stun lock, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, it is free. Like you can just try exactly what I just did. I promise you, if you pick up, doesn't matter if it's North American version or Japanese version, it's the same. Do it with Raphael, it's free. Try it with one of the other turtles, it becomes a 1-frame window. Or I guess
oh, wow. Okay. It's that much tighter.
Yeah. Having that extra range really made this game not as reset heavy. It used to be like super reset heavy in the first level.
Right, right. And so now this is a game that there is no reason to have multiple different turtles categories, right? Because there's only that one difference with the one turtle and everyone else is the same.
Yes, and I would be open to, we've actually shot that down twice in the board's lifetimes. And I would be honestly open to adding like a turtle category if this game was more popular, but it's not.
Yes.
And we see, like, even now, I can tell you probably in the last year, I verified like 3 runs. So it doesn't get people running it. It comes in waves sometimes where like people pick it up, but for the most part, it's abandoned. It's not one of the more popular. Actually, speaking of that too, fun little trivia fact too, every conceivable Turtles game that exists has made its way into GDQ except for this one.
Yeah, I'm so confused by that.
Game. Yeah, it's never been accepted ever. It's actually never been accepted to ESA either, which is basically like the European equivalent of GDQ.
Right.
And this year, there's a runner named Scarface Nico that actually submitted it. So if it gets accepted, the first big appearance it'll ever have is on ESA.
Wow, very cool. I was gonna say, because for right now, we're the ones leading it, right, folks? GDQ ain't doing it, ESA ain't doing it, but we got Turtles 2 right here, right now. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. And it's crazy how far, but like I'm an old man, I think, when it comes to Twitch now, because like my account is from 2016.
Right.
So I feel I'm getting older. I'm no longer like a new speedrunner or whatever.
I know. My favorite is when you, to interrupt you here, is when you say that, is like, you'll ask me questions and I'll give you an answer. You're like, where did you get that idea or that tech from? I'm like, from Sinister. You're like, of course you did. Yes. And now it all makes sense again. That's old school speedrun tech.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Like Sinister is like an actual grandpa at this point. But, you know, I can't say in good faith, you know, I'm like a young speedrunner anymore either. So we're getting up there. But
right,
yeah.
even
so like a long time ago, like when I was new in like 2016, as far back as 2012, I think. One of the OG runners of this game, Scavenger, had tried to get it into GDQ. Every year he would submit it, and every year he would get rejected. And it's like, man, come on. And going back, yeah, as far as 2012, 2016, he was still trying all the way until I think like 2020. And then from there, there's a couple new people that tried to get it in, like West Point Steve and stuff.
Right.
They still said no. Even after this game, like we used to think, in theory, the glad run of this mode, like both North American and Japanese would be like 27 or something like that. It's now 26, like it actually fell below 27.
Wow.
And there's some really good people that brought it down, like Omquat and Skunky. I haven't.
Yeah, Omquat's. Usually when Omquat gets into a game, there's usually a lot of tightening up of so many different tech.
He is so underrated and so good.
Yes.
And if I can make a personalized request, like if you want to shout out Omquat, he deserves so many more people that follow him. Like he's so good at so many games. Like
folks, if you care about just watching the run and just the sheer audacity of skill more than the entertainment of, let's say, how over the top either Dave or I are, right? We're both a little bit eccentric to how some people's tastes are. But if you just want the game and you want skills, you should definitely check out Omquat's channel. That's OMQWAT. Omquat.
Yeah, no, I firmly believe he's like super underrated and one of the most underrated speedrunners. And the cool thing about him in this game is originally when I learned the Japanese speedrun, I was going back and forth with a runner named Baze86.
Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
Baze and I traded the record multiple times. And the cool thing was Omquat was last place on the leaderboard. He apparently ran the Japanese version just a couple of times, and then that was it. He never came back to it. Now he is first place on the leaderboard. It's a great redemption arc.
Wow, that is. My goodness. Yeah. Now, here's a question. Are these barrels in this one helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
You can. They're on a really big time delay, as you just saw.
Yes.
So you have to hit them kind of early, but they do explode. And in multiple scenes where there is a barrel, which is actually mainly just this level anyway.
Okay, yes.
You can hit them in such a way that they usually explode, you know, like 1 to 3 guys are walking around.
Okay, cool. Because like, you know, I've always found it interesting on which games where the barrels are helpful and where they don't do anything. They're just almost kind of like, it's flashy. That's it.
Yeah. They're like, the weird thing about this game though too is there is kind of like interactive objects for the most part. But most of them, like the barrel isn't like super useful just because realistically it takes so long to detonate, but at the same time it's still useful if you can get like 3 guys.
I was gonna say, if you get 3 guys coming on the scene right when you hit that and you're moving along, they're gone and you're moving on the right side. I can see how that's helpful. But you're right, if it doesn't do that, you only get 1, you could have just attacked the same guy on a tighter frame. And yeah.
The other thing that's useful in the Japanese version is the dive kick actually does one-shot foot soldiers. Whereas in the North American version, it takes 2. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Phil, you're going to use Raphael. Because Raphael, there you go. There's a 3-fer. That was a perfect example of what is a good barrel. Yeah, because Raphael's just gets extra stuff like that. But that's about it, though. Like, if you don't know how to use that move, you're not going to be able to tell there's any difference between any of the turtles. Why is it broken for you,
really, it's really weird. Like, ooh, okay.
Oh, he mooed on you.
Yeah, that's actually pretty rare. That's okay. But yeah, you would have a really hard time noticing, I think, from a casual perspective, the extra range on Raphael. Unless you're trying to hit stun, I think, rock steady. Everything else, there's a lot of cool things that you can kind of do with Raphael in terms of like enemy grouping and stuff like that. Where, especially enemies are appearing on screen, if you like special slash, they'll die.
Oh, okay.
But you wouldn't generally do that casually, so.
That makes sense. All right, Baxter down, folks. You know what we say about Baxter around here. Baxter is a Baxter. That's what we say around these parts.
There's no Bucky. Like, the amount of people that ever would have seen me run this, it's actually kind of cool to think about that, because I was still streaming to like single-digit viewers back then.
Okay. Before I knew Dave, folks. Before I knew Dave.
Yeah, and the amounts of people like that are still around from that day there's still quite a few, obviously, but like there would have been just a handful of people, I think, back then. So it was kind of very new. Like, as I said, it was like the second speedrun that I ever learned.
So since this was the second, what was your first?
Batman.
Oh, Batman. Okay. So Batman was the first. Interesting. So you've been really dedicated to that run for a long time.
Yes.
Like me and Mega Man 2, for example.
Yeah. That one I did put more time and effort into getting like the sub 10 back then, but.
Right. Just like me getting the sub 30 on the zipless Mega Man 2. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still like this one a lot, and it was fun. And it's funny because like Castlevania is, I wouldn't necessarily say like blowing up because it's always been kind of popular, like Castlevania 1.
Yeah, very much so.
But in a parallel world somewhere, I learned Castlevania 1 because a long time ago when Baze and I were talking, we were like, oh man, we should learn a game together.
Oh, cool, yeah.
The options were Turtles 2 and Castlevania 1, and I picked Turtles 2.
I like it though. I've always been a Cowabunga fan, folks. You know that. Turtles 4, Turtles 3, and whenever we can dip into some of the other titles, obviously Shredder's Revenge, which has gotten tons of love on the GDQ circuit. I don't know if ESA's had it on theirs. Probably, though.
I would imagine like that was a pretty popular,
very hot one. Yeah.
That's awesome, Renji. I'm glad that you're an OG for Batman. Whether it was like original bad Batman or like refined Batman over time.
Well, one of my favorites of your pop-offs, because typically you don't really have the signature pop-off like Sinister does, right? Like that's something you expect.
Everybody.
Yeah,
talking old Sinister.
Yeah, like Sin typically was always like all the time super chill, and then finally he would PB and the pop-off would come.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know that Sin had those verbs as a part of his and adjectives as a part of his language, but. One of my favorite ones, we actually used it for the Mystery Speedrun Theater series that Posty and I had done, and Dave was running Ninja Gaiden 2, and because a lot of people, when I asked them for access to the're videos for that, like, hey, you're comfortable, okay, cool, they're surprised I didn't pick their very best run for whatever game I chose. Like, I've got a better run. I'm like, I don't care, this is a better video. You didn't tell me I could only choose like your top #1 run. You just said pick any run. So I'm picking any run. I'm picking one that we can actually, vibe off of and create some more content with besides just the spittle that Posty and I will give. So it's so great is that's why out of all the runs, there's so much afterwards, because like the outro for Ninja Gaiden 2 is super long.
It takes forever.
Forever. And so like Dave's just talking about all this different stuff, and so he just starts yelling at City. He's like, the City Bop, the City Bop, and just like, it was so hilarious.
I bopped him by 1 second, and you better believe, like hours after I was done streaming, I tweeted him. I was like, Sinister, yeah, literally. I did the exact same thing with Tetris too. Like he had like 203,000 or something as like a high score in Tetris, and like 592 or something like that. And I literally had like 203,000, like 595, and I was like, oh yeah, pop,
pop them. And folks, it's so funny because like it's one of those things that you just feel good about them, because again, Sin came from the old school 2010 and before, sending VHSs in to places like Speed Demos Archive, waiting weeks to even know if the video made it there.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part is I feel like I was maybe in the wrong generation of speedrunners, because I always fit in really well with Sinister.
Yes, I understand that vibe. Yep.
Yeah, and Sinister is great. Like he's on another level than me still, because you know for sure, all the spreadsheets and individual goals that he tracks and stuff like that. And, but
he goes back and retimes his splits.
And then, yes, so there's a huge dedication to this craft where I feel I'm somewhere in the middle there, where I task out strats and I also keep track of goals and things like that, but not on the Sinister level. And I think you could extend that to the old SDA level and stuff like that, where they're just crazy good at breaking down things literally to the frame.
To the frame. And then but it was really cool working with Sin too, because his approach to speedrunning is much different than mine, right?
Yeah.
But even though that's the case, because we're co-oping a run, we were able to somehow take the best of what he did and the best of what I did and just merge it together, and it was a bunch of fun. It was a bunch of fun.
Yeah, and I feel like I always fell into kind of that same mentality as the old SDA guys as well. It was always interesting. Yeah, I always felt a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say it home with the SDA guys, but definitely from that mentality. Where,
yeah.
I still remember Endy, for example. I asked him when I was new and an impressionable speedrunner.
Yes.
I was like, Endy, I was like, you literally just risked a world record pace to save 0.3. You could have had the record and then you ruined it. Because he was trying to get Diggler and Batman. And he got knocked off and he lost 12 seconds. And I was like, why would you risk that? And he's like, why would you not? Because he's the next guy, he's gonna have to go for it if you go for it.
Yeah,
and I was like, you know what? I like that mentality. So I always adopted that mentality too, and I put in a whole bunch of horrible strats. Actually, one is still at the end of this game too. But...
See, now
I was
it's so great you say that, because it sounds like what Posty and I did with like Turtles 4 and the double RAF, where it's like, now it's tight. What we've done with like the no wrong warp, we feel like it's a good challenge for somebody that wants to come back up and try to beat that time, compared to like how we whittled down the other title. Two different things, right? Where it's like, okay, we want this one's the good one. This other one, come on, folks, we know you can do it. We didn't do it perfect. You know, it's a good time. We're happy with it, but we know it could be done more, right? Like, it's just so funny how Posty and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, how much more relaxed we are also when we're doing our runs on Turtles, and how we're not like, all right, we got to get this PB now. We got to do it. We got to. Instead, it's like, okay, we'll get there when we get there. You know, we'll be on the same, we'll sync it up. We'll figure things out. And like, we've been able to even learn more coming into it with that fresher mindset than just always got to do the best, period.
Yeah, I think also too, like, once you get the record, not to diminish your future records, but like, they don't,
it's different.
Like, I don't know how to say that. Like, they don't mean as much. Like,
I think there's less pressure.
Yeah, that's what I mean to say.
Yeah.
Like, they still mean, they're not worthless.
Yeah.
The pressure is definitely gone from the first time when you do it. So.
Now, one thing I will speak on that was a little bit different for Posty and I, when we first got the record for Turtles 4 and we had stepped away to start doing Turtles 3, another co-op group had gone into it. And then for the next 6 months plus, it was just this back and forth. No matter the difficulty, easy, normal, or hard, it was just a constant, amazing amount of, oh, we didn't get the world record in one of these games or one of these difficulties this week. They just got it back. And it was like this constant, like, you had to be on top of your game because we were always pushing each other. And that was a really cool thing to be a part of. And it's so rare, because I've run other titles with Posty, with Sin. You know, you figure someone like Sin's going to have people wanting to bop him, but it's hard to find a co-op partner that's going to mesh as well.
Yeah. I can definitely say that too, although I've only had like obviously one co-op partner with Kat, but just co-op gaming in general is like one of the coolest things. Like, if you can rope a friend or your girlfriend, if you're lucky enough, I guess, into speedrunning something with you, like, it really is incredible in that kind of way. Yeah. It's very fun, and Kat and I, like, we really enjoyed both Goof Troop, especially with Chip and Dale as well. We ended up getting,
the Goof Troop, like, I feel the good energies from both of you for Goof Troop, while on Chip and Dale, you obviously are very skillful, but I feel there's, it's not as, like, because they had the second best time, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's when you stopped.
We're second currently.
I was pretty certain on that, and that time is unbelievably good. But what's funny is because they did that in such a short amount of time, I think it's a lot different than the amount of time you put into Goof Troop. I'm assuming you two put a lot more in, even individually as well.
See, I think part of that too, like, that's the cool thing too, is like, Kat never played Chip and Dale before, so she really had to pull her weight, and she doesn't weigh a lot to begin with. So, like, she really had to, like,
how much does a chipmunk weigh? 2 pounds?
Yeah,
2.5.
I mean, pretty close, but yeah, it's like, it's pretty crazy again, because like, she literally has like no background in that game at all. Like, she never played it, she didn't care about it. It's like very much a thing that's like, okay, you want to do it, we can try it. But at least with Goof Troop, there's an element of RNG that's crazy. So fun fact about this guy is he loses his head every 4.2 seconds. Sorry, 4.24 seconds, unless you're hitting him or he's swinging his weapon. Oh, that's how that works. You can time it very specifically, so he's always in hit stun, because you can hit him twice and then wait. And then he'll swing his weapon. It'll overlap with the global timer, so his head doesn't fly off. And there's certain frames you can get screwed anyway, and his head flies off. But I remember finding that a long time ago, and that's one version of the quick kill that is still in play. But there's also basically like a hitless version, which is crazy, where you don't take any hits from him at all, and it saves probably about 2 seconds.
I wonder why it's still 0 for you, Parsley. That's odd. Yeah, how are you watching the stream? Maybe that's what's keeping you from getting the points in the chat. That's so weird. Yo, Manerick, good to see ya. Huh. Strange. Well, let me look here.
There used to be an extension. I remember you have to like click, but I haven't done that in a long time.
Let's see here. Doodly 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 doo. All right.
So the weird thing about this stage is it's actually not the worst stage. It is like the longest stage. But I feel like Turtles 3 has a really bad kind of like final stage, and obviously the Technodrome in Turtles 1 kind of has like a really bad level 2.
Yeah.
I feel this one's actually a lot nicer than both of those games because they just throw basically like everything that you're presumably already familiar with in the game.
And then some random freezing things.
Yeah. And if I stop getting like hit by this dude anyway, like it's all stuff that you saw like previously in the game. Like literally I think everything in the game is in this level minus the tigers and scorpions. So.
Thank goodness. And all those guys, yeah, pretty much just the enemies from the dojo. Because there's those 3 different types.
Yeah, those guys too, yeah.
Those weird buff kind of jumpy guys. They have a name.
We have a very convoluted past in they used to be fat ninjas, then at some point in time they became like fat orangutans, depending on the runner that was running.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I don't even think they're like a primate, but okay.
No,
like,
I think they're an arm wrestler. That also is a ninja.
Like if you knew runners want to call them orangutans, I guess that's okay. I can partially admit, the old fat ninja thing was probably maybe not the best name for them. So I came from me and Baze a long time ago, so we're the bad generation, and the new
bad
generation. Right. Exactly, they're fixing us.
Thank you, Luxon. Doodly doodly doo.
So this little thing, okay, so there's another group of soldiers here. Of course, now I keep getting knifed like crazy. After this group, there's another Roadkill Rodney group. And if you're good like that, you can trap them all 3. I was gonna say the first group that was like shooting me around actually mattered so hugely. Because the dude that's coming up, General
Trog?
What is his name? Yeah, that him. Actually, I'll show you something that Omquat figured out too. Because if you redirect your eyes to like the top of the square,
yeah,
I'll try to do it. If you attack the door as it's coming open, okay, we didn't do it.
Okay,
you actually get a huge amount of points, and you get like extra 1-ups and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Probably a total Easter egg that most people don't know in that game.
Yeah, because once you know it's there, you probably wouldn't want to risk getting taken out by the door, right? Because it does some good damage.
It does, yeah. I don't know if it's a glitch or not again. But this dude has such a complicated past because we being, like Baze and I a long time ago, we literally thought of like, no joke, 9 different quick kills for this guy. They all varied like crazy, and nothing was faster than spamming in the corner.
Really?
That's it. Yeah, we could not get that fast. And you just take a death, you spam in the corner, and no matter what we would do, like nothing was fast. And still to this day, nobody found out anything faster. Also here, Krang flexes. You can actually hit him out of his flexing animation, which nobody figured out.
Oh, is that helpful?
Yes, it saves like 2 seconds. And
That's
nobody figured that out for probably like close. Actually, I guess it was like 8 years or something crazy.
Dang.
Yeah, I think it was Frank FC that one day decided, you know what, like I'm just gonna hit Krang, and then we're like, what?
What?
Our whole life is a lie. But yeah, Krang is a worst guy probably in the game, but that seems to be a theme in the Turtles franchise.
Yes.
So you can have Krang fights that are basically 1 life bar in health. He doesn't actually kill you, and it completely depends right there, like that, how much he wants to kick you.
Interesting. And then this time, what ends on the screen shake?
Partially. There's still Shredder. If you see the shadow, you see how there's like a circular shadow. If you line up the shadows so the top is missing like that, that's a visual cue that I thought of forever ago at this point. It's like 8 years ago. So there's shredders and they split. One is fast, one is slow. So this guy on the right is actually the real shredder.
Ah.
And he will walk very slowly into this position. Oh, sorry, this was the wrong shredder.
Oh, yeah, that was a quick helmet, yeah.
Yeah, so wait, which one's the slow one? Oh, it's this guy. Okay. It's the top guy if he wants to. There we go. Okay, now we go. So anyway,
right,
this is the real shredder. And this quick heal I thought of years ago at this point. I have begged the Turtles community that superseded me a long time ago. As long as the real shredder is attacking you like this, the fake shredder will always try to loop, but there's a pretty decent amount of pixels. Like I would say it's like probably like 6 to the south that you are safe. Otherwise, this actually kills you instantly if you get hit by it. And it turns you like into a little turtle.
Yes.
And I have begged, like literally begged after I stopped running this game, the Turtles 2 community. It's like, please figure out a new shredder kill. Like there's no reason that this should be the shredder kill.
Yes, right.
And nobody did it. Like it's just fast enough also that this might be, you know, like the ultimate thing where you just...
Right, because there's no better damage necessarily, right?
Actually, there is with the specialist slash, like the special slash, but the problem is if you get hit during the special slash animation, you get thrown backwards by a whole lot of recoil.
Aha.
So time is coming up after the screen shakes. So there you go.
Woo, folks, he did it. He did it. He beat the odds. Dave beat the odds.
Not terrible. I don't know what the time was, but that didn't sound or didn't feel too bad. So I'll take that.
30-24.
I will take that. The last time realistically I might have run this game was like 2018, I think.
Wow, so, folks. A 6-year dust off for us. Parson,
yeah.
Did you click follow? Because if you didn't click follow, you're probably not going to get any gains that way either. That's my only guess, because when I went to look you up, it's not showing you in the user base for my thing. It's like you're currently not existing, even though I can tell you're typing. Weird. I don't know what it is.
Seasonal best, yeah.
Because I can't even add points to you. Like, I wanted to just manually add the points because I know you've been here for so long. It won't even let me. Yeah, try that. Like, it won't even let me give you points. You're not even showing up in my tracker here. I found somebody else named CPAR. I found somebody else named Triassic Park, you know? And I'm like, okay, this is not a hard name to find. It's pretty simple. So I don't know why it's not giving you that awesomeness. No idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And thank you guys for the GGs. I appreciate that too.
Yes, can we get one more shout out for Dave? I know a lot of you know Dave because we've done so many different events for each other.